time, but we'd ask that you withhold any adjudication with regards to any issue of code violation, because that would obviously necessitate Strand management in the interim to file to make sure that its rights are protected in a court of law, any and all appeals with the circuit court in the 17th Judicial Circuit, which would be a considerable expense.
Okay, all I'm gonna rule is this.
Well, Magistrate, if I may
Okay,
respond to
city
that.
attorney, I'd like to hear from him, please.
If I just may respond. Magistrate, essentially, if you give this property owner a Strand management 60 days comply, but withhold any sort of an adjudication, that's essentially granting a continuance. I think you've already informed them that you have not granted continuance. This matter is extremely old. I think it's a pretty cut and dry matter. There's no permits in existence, and we ask that you adjudicate today.
Well, Madam Magistrate, what you can do is give us 60 days to try and comply with in your order. There'll be no further continuances that will be entertained by this body, which basically gives us 60 days, and that's that. But if there is an adjudication, then again, instead of spending money to try and comply with the project, my client unfortunately is going to have to pay me to file the necessary appeals to make sure that our rights are preserved, because as we've seen in the last 2.5 months, there is just no way to know how long certain things are going to take.
Okay, is the city asking for an adjudication?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sauer, are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you're also in agreement they have 60 days to comply, and what kind of a fine would you want after that?
60 days to comply with $250 after that, and the amount of costs I'm requesting today is $274. This amount represents the cost to today's date what the city has incurred in enforcing its code.
Okay,
Court
you have that worksheet with you. Could
Yes,
you
ma'am.
show that to Mr. Edison?
Yes.
This is the new city requirement now, that we don't impose a blanket cost, but they actually write the cost for investigating and any kind of cost that they had.
Madam Magistrate, and the city attorney can confirm this, the city is holding $2,500 of my client's money as a protection against any type of lien or cost that the city may have. At this point, I think adjudication of any type of cost is premature to see whether we can resolve this.
Magistrate, that's fine. As long as we adjudicate today, he's right, we can settle the financial aspects after this. I think Mr. Edison and I would agree that we can handle that on our own, correct, Mr. Edison?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is only regarding the cost. The
That's
costs
regarding
are still
court costs.
what they
Court
are.
costs we'll handle, we'll handle
Okay,
court costs.
can I have that sheet? Is that part of my file? Because this would be,
I know.
did we decide whether this is an exhibit?
Madam Magistrate, just for the record, we object to any type of adjudication today based upon the fact that the Board of Rules and Appeals, we don't believe that this property should have, based upon what I've submitted, that you haven't had the opportunity to review yet, is our arguments in opposition that there needs to be that there is any type of violation, specifically, Madam Magistrate, and we've gone through this, with your counterpart, that under the legal concepts of latches, under Camara versus Municipal Court of the City of County, based upon, I have the case here, based upon Monroe County v. Carter, which is 41 Southern 3rd 954, a third DCA decision in 2010, and Sarasota County versus National City Bank of Cleveland, 902 Southern 2nd 233, which is the second DCA in 2005, that latches is available as a defense to a code enforcement proceeding if the defendant presents sufficient evidence of when the particular county or city gained knowledge of the violating condition. Here, they have been inspecting this property since it was put together in 2001. We've provided to you in our packet of multiple instances when Inspector Hoffel herself has gone to the property and even said that she needed to come back and, inspect for addition, if there are any type of violations. It's been noted back in 2010 that there was a personal skateboard ramp there in Exhibit B to our motion in opposition. So the city has known about this ramp for a number of years. It's only until 2015 when the fire department all of a sudden has taken issue with it. So from a legal perspective, if there's an adjudication, I have absolutely no choice but to take this to the circuit court, because there are strong legal arguments that can be made. We're simply asking for 60 days just to let us all work together to get this done.
Okay.
My question is very simply this: towards what end? What is the benefit? How is it going to? Are you going to adjudicate me to? I understand that, but if you adjudicate and then give us 60 days, or if you just give us the 60 days, how is it that an adjudication is gonna help anything? In other words, all that is more adversarial. Is that gonna motivate me more? I talk
I
to
don't
this
know.
gentleman every day. Why
Okay.
can't we get it? In other words, you control when you permit and approve, not me. So you're gonna hold a gun to my head and say, you've got a deadline that I can see to it, you can't meet. I'm not the one that needs the motivation.
Mr.
I don't know how
Schlesinger,
it benefits to
I'm
say you're
disagreeing- I
adjudicating.
disagree with you that the city is the only party that has any control over
I have
when
no
this
control.
gets done. You had control too, your attorney had control. This is a 2-year-old case.
It's
Yeah,
it's a
okay,
2-year-old
listen,
case that y'all
I'm-
had to vacate. In other words, what is the benefit to you or to me to adjudicate me when you could give us
There's a benefit to the city.
And Master,
Okay,
to
just
do what?
Hold on a second, Mr.
If I
Lanius.
may, if this matter is adjudicated today, there is also the option for the property owner's attorney to file a compliance extension, essentially, which would be if something happens to the building department and on the city's fault, if the permit isn't issued in a timely fashion, there's also a compliance extension possibility that if it is shown that it is a city responsibility and a city fault, I would be the first one to bring the compliance extension document to Mr. Edison for a 30-day or whatever they need compliance extension. However, if it's not the city's fault, and if for whatever reason they just stop asking for help and for the permits today, city needs to be protected. We have a dangerous condition in the city, and we need a adjudication in order to get that rectified.
There's no dangerous condition. There
Okay.
never was a dangerous
According
condition. It
to
was
the city-
dangerous. Why
according-
wasn't it dangerous in
Hold on.
2013
Okay,
when she
listen,
was
I'm
out there?
done, hearing's over. Okay, this is city's exhibit, is it 3? 4.
By the way,
4 for
the city is protected under Florida Statute 316-0085, which is the Tony Hawk laws. A governmental entity is not liable to any person who voluntarily participates in skateboarding, inline skating, paintball, or freestyle or mountain and off-road bicycling for any damage or injury to property or persons which arises out of a person's participation in such activity and which takes place in an area designated for such activity. That is subsection 4. They're known as the Tony Hawk laws for these type of sports.
Magistrate, when I refer to the city, I meant citizens. I meant people
Okay.
getting hurt
That-
or a fire
Mr.
occurring.
Edison, I'm ready to rule. Okay, as follows. The owner of the property has 60 days in which to comply, which means obtaining the permits and complying in any manner that the permit states. So that if the permit says you have to do A, B, C, you can't do A and B. A, B, C, and C have to be completed. Obviously, from what Mr. Lanius said, if I see that the city has done something to obstruct your ability to get that done, then something could be considered, but I haven't seen the city obstructing so far. And as a matter of fact, I think the city's been very cooperative. If the compliance hasn't occurred within the 60 days, which is 6/25/17, there'll be a $250 a day fine. I am adjudicating. Okay, hearing's over. Thank you.
Thank you, Magistrate.